The Saskatchewan New Democratic Party have announced who will be the candidate in the Lloydminster riding for the fall election. I had the chance to chat with the new candidate, Colleen Henning. I'm joined today with Colleen Henning, the new NDP candidate for Lloydminster for the Saskatchewan election. So Colleen, first off, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
I guess let's just start from the beginning. What made you want to be the NDP candidate?
Well, a couple of things. One is that I see a need for change in Saskatchewan, and I believe some of that change in Saskatchewan can benefit Lloydminster. Lloydminster, I've lived in Lloydminster almost all my life. I was born here. I've lived here 48 years, I guess. And I've seen booms and I've seen busts, but obviously these are not the best of times in Lloydminster. But I think with support from the government, with proper policies, things can be better for Lloydminster. And that's why I'm running.
What are some of the primary issues that you yourself are focusing on for this election?
In Lloydminster specifically, well, probably the first one is job and income security, because we have resources in Lloyd and we've relied on those resources for a long time, the same ones to a large extent. And I am in no way suggesting that we are done relying on those resources, but I think we need to focus going forward on expanding the economy in Lloyd, bringing in different kinds of businesses and industries, training people for different kinds of work, but also finding new opportunities, places for our resources, places for our people.
Now, there is no official platform yet from the NDP, but there is a COVID-19 plan in place that was presented by the leader, Ryan Miley. So just take us through that COVID-19 plan from the NDP.
It's a 5-point plan. This is not the party platform. This is just the COVID plan. And the first one is to have the best home care in Canada, to reduce pressure on emergency rooms, which I think most people could see the need for that. I have a sick family member myself, and home care is very critical. The second one is investment in schools and child care so that schools can reopen safely. And as a teacher myself, I see the importance of that. We all know that kids need to be in school. It's important for their health and their well-being and their development for them to be in school, but they need to be in school and be safe. It needs to be safe for students and teachers. Third point, a 15-hour minimum wage, so that everyone who works is making a reasonable amount of money, something that they can live on. Fourth is a Saskatchewan First plan to make sure that Saskatchewan companies and workers are benefiting from investment in new infrastructure, whereas in the last few years under the current Sask Party government, a lot of non-Saskatchewan companies have been the ones that have been benefiting first. And last, ensuring every person in Saskatchewan is able to access high-speed internet. And in fact, that actually connects to some of the ideas I had for Lloydminster in particular, because one of the things we have to do to get job security in Lloydminster and in the larger riding, which extends far north from Lloydminster, is to make sure everyone has reliable, affordable cell phone and internet service, because there are northern communities in this riding that do not have those things. And how can you access higher education? How can you access jobs? How can you run a business if you don't have cell phone and internet service? It's not possible. And again, for those same people, roads. So those are connected ideas, that things we need in Lloydminster, things we need in Saskatchewan, so that our economy can prosper and our people can prosper.
In your mind, how do you feel about the way that the provincial government has not only handled the COVID-19 pandemic, but also handled some of the other qualities of life for Saskatchewan residents?
For COVID-19, I would have to say they have done a lot of things right. I mean, Saskatchewan is doing pretty well. We are having a little bit of a problem right now, a bit of an outbreak in southern Saskatchewan, but in some ways it hasn't been, it has been pretty good. So, hats off to them for that. But there are other things where We feel they've been making serious mistakes. An example, again, is schools. They want schools to reopen completely in the fall, but they have not given any extra money to school divisions. How can school divisions put additional safety measures in place in schools with no additional money to do it with? You're asking people in a time when there are extra burdens to take those on with no extra money, and that's not reasonable. So that's an example of some of the problems with the COVID plan. And I know that in Lloydminster, a lot of people are unhappy with the lack of transparency. They feel that the government is not giving them the information that they are entitled to about, where there are pockets of COVID and so on. For example, just this last weekend, the Sask government no longer makes announcements on the weekend about new COVID cases. And I saw on Lloydminster social media, a lot of people are unhappy with that. And I can understand that. They feel like they should be getting daily updates. Why is the government taking the weekends off from those? So in the larger scheme of things that you mentioned, Lloydminster was already struggling prior to COVID. I mean, we know that was a problem. And the Sask party wasn't really helping us. I feel like our MLA wasn't terribly visible, and she wasn't terribly visible in Lloydminster. She wasn't terribly visible in the legislature. But and in a more general way, the Sask party, it seemed like they were just operating from the same old playbook and making the same old choices while the world was changing around them. Yes, we have a lot of oil and we have agriculture and we have certain things, but all those industries need to adapt. Industries always need to adapt. The world changes and you have to change with it. An example I gave once was, there used to be blacksmiths everywhere. Go back 150 years. There were blacksmiths everywhere. There used to be stores where there were hat makers, where people just made hats. That was a thing because that was part of society at the time. The world changes, jobs change. Some jobs become obsolete, new jobs open up. Lloydminster needs to be part of the new jobs that open up. We need to be part of the industries of the future.
Well, Colleen, I really appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining me today.
Okay, thank you very much.